I, Charles Okafor, played the role of a thief in a movie. I'm not a thief. What have I just done? I have represented a reality of life, which is stealing. That is what I did, a representation. But that's not who I am. But if, when I get out of the character of playing the role of a thief, I see somebody's pen, and I look to the left and right, and I fap it, I'm no longer acting. I'm a thief. You see, we have so materialized the filmmaking in this country. And again, it goes to the absence, the degradation of our value system. We now worship this demon called Mammon. People do so much. Those who ought not to have any business with filmmaking invaded the industry and came with all forms of mediocrity. Same old for a bunch of loose women who had no business being in the industry, who had nothing to offer other than perhaps their beauty. And so they too came not to struggle, not to work hard, not to sweat to get roles, but to offer their bodies. I mean, that is, for me, is a definition of prostitution. But I must make the point that it is not something that is uniquely found within Nollywood. In the realm of entertainment, what the musicians are doing, they are not exposing the ills in society. They are celebrating the ills in society. So Charles Okafor plays the role of a drug baron because the message is to let the world out there know that such characters exist. But if you follow the storyline to the end, you'll find that good triumphs over what? Evil at the end of the story. What does that tell you? That if you go this way, you are likely going to end this way. Which means that, no, don't go this route. This route will lead you to untimely death. But you see, you watch some of our entertainment musicians and all of those. They are telling you, my brother, go and make money. That money rules the world. I'm creating the impression in impressionable minds that this is the way to go. Most musicians these days don't sing anything that drive the consciousness of decent living or that emboldens who you truly are. Almost every lyric now stays within the space of money. Live big, live big, live big. I mean, I see some videos and I'm asking myself, you find a musician that is about 21, 22 years old, spraying dollars, lighting fat cigars, seeing them, even though the vehicles are borrowed, but you create the impression that life is that easy. Art is at once therapeutic. It heals, it entertains. But fundamentally for some of us, it's didactic. It teaches. What we did in the past, and people like us still do today, is to expose the ills in society. Social media now makes us to see the level of fakery within the so-called body of Christ. When some who claim to be pastors are ritualists.
Welcome to another inspiring episode of Selahmeditate, where we bring you high calibers of individuals to discuss on life, business, their story, and also things that's going to inspire and challenge your life. Today, I'm honored to sit with a man who has inspired our screen and has graced our screen for decades, a veteran in the Nollywood industry. Today, we are going to be discussing his path through fame, faith, and legacy. So he's one of the most Nollywood iconic voices that has inspired us in generations. So today, welcome to another edition of Selahmeditate. I remain your very host, Benzik. If it's your first time of coming to this channel, like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. So guys, most welcome my highly incredible veteran here, Charles Okafor. Sir, it's a pleasure to share this moment with you.
It's an honor, thank you.
Immediately I saw you, I said, wow, it just memories all over. I was filled with lots of memories. I said, wow, I can't believe I have to see this face again physically. I have to engage with you physically. You have graced our screen for decades, and it has been quite inspiring. Immediately I saw you, I said, okay, maybe those ritualist time again has come. You know, those movies we used to watch. It's quite inspiring. Now, I want to know your biography before acting. Can you share a bit of who was Charles Okafor before the screen?
Thank you. Welcome to my office. My name is Charles Okafor, as you know. Yeah. I'm the fourth in a family of 6. I hail from Umweri. Umweri is in the Anambra East local government area of Anambra State. Well, if you must know, Umweri is where you have the Chino Achebe International Passenger Cargo Airport, the newest airport in Nigeria, but with the longest tarmac in Africa. That's very important. I attended St. Gregory's College, Ikoyi, for my post-primary education, and then went on to the University of Port Harcourt for my first degree in theatre arts, then of course to the University of Lagos for my master's degree in political science with special bias in international relations. I'm a career actor. You call me veteran actor. I am an international advocacy filmmaker. That's where I am.
So how did Nollywood come into the picture? At what point did you decide
It's interesting because Nollywood wasn't in the cards. In all sincerity, I had served with the Securities and Exchange Commission. By the way, the Securities and Exchange Commission is the apex regulatory body of the Nigerian capital market. The capital market is the long-term arm of the Nigerian financial system, all right, regulated by SEC, while the short-term arm, the money market, is regulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, even though Central Bank still regulates the entire Nigerian financial system. I was a youth corper at the time, and I had the opportunity of serving in the corporate affairs department, which was what took me to NTA at the time, to prepare the team that was supposed to join a contingent to Harare, Zimbabwe for an international conference on attracting investments into the Nigeria, into not just the Nigerian capital market but the regional capital market at the time. Once I was done with that assignment, I made to return to the office in the official vehicle that had brought me to NTA headquarters at the time, on Ahmadu Bello Way, and a voice called from behind me, and that voice eventually became my first director on television.
Wow. His
name actually is Last Iguavon. I can't forget his name in 1,000 years. Last said he saw me from across the window of his office and felt that I fitted into who would play a role in the only soap opera network at the time of NTA, titled Memorial Hospital. Long story cut short, I started my journey, in this particular path, of television, and playing the role of Dr. Sheung Peters. So a year and a half down the line, I became more of a household name nationally. I didn't see Nollywood coming, but sooner than later, I had the opportunity of being invited to be a part of an audition for a major home video at the time, produced and directed by the Sheikh himself, Zeb Ejiro. I remember that audition took place at Olufemi Shokon Street, very close to Kwakwa Abuda here in Lagos. I landed the role. The rest, they say, is history. And with that, our journey, to this beautiful, positive global brand of Nigeria called Nollywood started.
Wow. So can you, based on your history and your knowledge of Nollywood, can you just share a brief of Nollywood history from its foundation?
As much as I know, filmmaking in the structured form within the home video compartment gained some level of national visibility with the success of Living in Bondage, produced by Chief Kent Nebwe. He was the managing director of NEC Video Links Limited. It was a bold move to tell the story of our world, our worldview, as it were, at the time. Living in bondage, paraded arguably some of the finest actors, and within the context and framework of the technology of the time, became a blockbuster. And with the success of Living in Bondage, it sparked off, as it were, a lot of attraction and appeal into what today has become Nollywood as you know it. But I must say very quickly that before Living in Bondage, there had been clusters of home video productions, even though they didn't hit the kind of Clyde light that Living in Bondage hit. Within the Yoruba film ecosystem, that were very well made, very creative, very content driven pieces. And then, of course, in the southeast, you had the likes of Mike Uri, Hedema, and all of those. Of course, so they were there, and they made their marks, no doubt, but not as much, comparatively speaking, as Living in Bondage, at the time made, and it now, became a blowout that gave birth, along with a few others, to what we have today.
Who are some of the pioneers then?
Their names now. The pioneers of the time. What is his name? Francis. Francis is dead now. Beautiful actor. Then of course you have Ken Okonkwo. You have what is his name? Ogweji Ofo. Forgotten his first name. Beautiful, brilliant guy. Of course, Ngozi Nwosu and a few others at the time were in Living in Bondage. We still remember them with profound respect for what they did.
Now, looking back, what was one of your first role, if you can remember, in Nollywood, and how has it impacted your career so far?
Domitilla by Zeb Ejiro, along with its challenges at the time. Domitilla stood out for me. Again, you must appreciate that I had journeyed from television to home video, and it was a very profound experience, running the distinctions, in terms of creative interpretation of all of those. And Domitilla, then Obsession, produced and directed by the late Chico Ejiro, the younger brother of the Sheikh, Zeb Ejiro. And then progressively, some others began to fall into. Yeah.
Which of them, of all the movies you have acted, which of them had the most impact on you?
This is one question that will take eternity to answer, because each work of art, from the point of view of role interpretation, stands out with its accompanying challenges, experiences, interpretations. No two works of art are the same, stricto sensu. But I would say that, of course, I've done Rituals, Oracle, so many. But even Ombalize came with its huge challenge. But Conspiracy. Why Conspiracy? My humble self, painfully, the young man that played my twin brother, Amechi Monago, I've forgotten his name, had gone to be with the Lord. I forgot, not Amechi Monago. I will remember his name. If I remember, I'll pull his name. Then, of course, Onyeko Wenu, who played the deranged woman that had twin children. My humble self and the guy whose name I can't remember. God bless his soul. But Conspiracy challenged the very essence of my entire creative calling. from the point of view of what message you're putting out and the advocacy that that message intended to resonate, within the critical mass of as many people that saw conspiracy as possible, not just in Nigeria but globally. Conspiracy was very moving from the point of view of the emotive expressions of what injustice could do. The level of diabolism that actually led an innocent woman to becoming a mad woman, and what she went through carrying the pregnancy, the pregnancy of twin children and living, in a refuse dump and all of those. Conspiracy actually ticked off all the indices of entertainment, therapeutic interpretation, content, and perhaps a message against all forms of evil in its varied interpretations. So, conspiracy for me.
Now, what do you think are some of the major challenges that the Nollywood industry face as of then and then now?
Then was the challenge of funding. You must appreciate that in the 90s, those who took the bold initiative to invest in filmmaking, home video production, were young men majorly who had just gained their settlement from apprenticeship, and with the success of living in bondage, saw a window of prosperity opportunity and decided to brave, all odds to take the risk. It was indeed a risk because, if they had been through 6 years of apprenticeship, there was no way a man who had, understudied his oga for 6 years in the line of, say, electronics business and all that, could just go into filmmaking that he didn't have any level of tutelage. So, I remember the likes of OJ Productions, so Geoffrey Zanye, and many others like him. But the capital they had at the time was limited. And yes, the films actually came out in our definition of the time, well-made films. Looking back now, you will see that there were so many technical absences from the works of those years, but they stood out at the time. And so limited capital was a challenge. It is not so much capital now because we are going cinematic. Most of our movies are gaining traction at film festivals across the world. So we can now afford to go into highfalutin, capital-intensive projects. But the challenge for me is the departure, not deliberately, inadvertent departure from content. We need to return and recalibrate our storytelling space, ecosystem. Everywhere that I've been in the world, I always make boast to say that Africa has a glut of stories. Nobody, not even Hollywood, can match Africa in storytelling. Is it from the point of view of our historical experiences, our worldview? Is it what we went through when we began to have an interface with foreign cultures, colonization, imperialism, and so many others? There are too many things to draw from. Then, of course, the rich content of our culture. Some of our cultures predate even Christianity. I mean, the Benin culture, Benin civilization outdates, predates, so many civilizations, all of European civilization put together. Is it the Nok culture? Is it the Kwahir theater of the people of North Central, particularly Benue State? Is it the terracotta culture? Is it the ancient Yoruba culture? Is it the Igbo worldview, that draws preponderantly from creation, and all of that? I mean, there are so many things. I come from Umweri, and historically we see, the immensity of the truism that Eri is the very source of this massive Igbo world. So I sit and I pride myself as Nwa Eri, and we are Umweri, and all of those. So there are too many things that we can draw from. Too many stories. We are. I can say that we were created to tell stories. I mean, Africans and all that. But we need to rejig, in order to be able to compete favorably, in this collage of global filmmaking, as it were. We need to rejig our storytelling. I think our scriptwriters should do more of profound research-based stories. The content is so much I mean, the stories are so much out of which you can now develop serious-minded, competitive content.
Then, as of now, what are the challenges then? If then the challenge were capital,
it is the same. It is the same today. Unfortunately, it might sound paradoxical that at the time, the years of yore, in the 90s and all, we had the challenge of capital. But the content was richer in terms of the storytelling techniques and all of those. Now we have all the money, and more money is coming. I mean, there are grants coming from multilateral institutions. Some banks are coming into the industry, opening film desks and providing grants. There's even this from the African Development Bank and all of those. So it is no longer the challenge of capital, but the challenge of doing what? Content. You see, and we are not doing badly though, but we can do a lot better.
Then what do you think are some of the content that they are producing and that is not as rich as them? How do you compare them?
The challenge for me is that we have inadvertently, and I'm trying to be very modest, strayed from the brimming profundity of the African person, of the African worldview.
Give examples.
And then we do what I call plastic content in order to be able to be like the white man. We tell stories that are not completely marketing who we are. And I must give credit to those who do some very epochal works. The Yoruba film industry does a lot in bringing cultures. A lot of people are doing it in the southeastern part of Nigeria, the Igbos. There are some from the south. So there are people who are insisting on dealing with those aspects of our historicity that define who we are. Even if you talk about love, our definition and demonstration of love can be mind-blowing. I mean, we had our ways and means of flirting around women from a cultural perspective. We had ways of women with jigida, strapped around the waist of this black goddess, Igbo goddess. That is why you have names like Adama, and all those beautiful names that define the African maiden. And you find that in our storytelling we find men, engage in wrestling bouts, to be able to outwit the other, to have this beautiful maiden, and how the beautiful maiden, upon identifying with one of those male, would go and spend time with the family of her prospective husband, and then leave without even seeing the inner walls of the man who would be her husband. But she would have done the duty of domestic cleanups and all of those. You see, we had our ways of preparing women for marriage that was dignifying, that made the woman come with a huge sense of honor, respectability. In contradistinction to today, when our women, in the name of actresses, bear it all, almost naked in their costuming, bearing almost everything that ought not to be seen. In those years, telling the story from the rich African, marital worldview, a woman's body was not completely seen. There was this thing that the uli does to you. It is to shield, to veil the beauty that the eventual husband will unveil the night after the consummation of the traditional rites and everything, such that you looked forward to who was going to be your wife or your bride, and all of those. But today, what we see in the name of the Americanization of our film content is that the costuming bears everything, almost to the point of your seeing cavities and all of those. That is not who we are. That is not who we are. Every people, if you understand my context, is defined by their morals, their laws, their dispositions, their worldviews, their convictions, These are the things that make us who we are, And so for me, it's a challenge. I can hardly sit with my children to watch a movie, except I had pre-watched it before then, because you couldn't be too sure of what you were going to see, and you wouldn't want your younger ones to see those, So I think we should begin to rejig and return to our style of filmmaking, even in contemporary times. I can still do modern flicks that are not even epic driven, and still keep the woman with so much grace, poise, and decency, such that at the end of it all, when the woman bears anything, it will wow, the way the male beneficiary, so to speak. So it's a challenge to look at content, but of course, again, we can't overstate the fact that we really need more funding. Private sector interventions will help us to ensure that we are up to date, and competing at a very high level in terms of technology.
Like changing these things that you're talking about.
No, I just dealt with the issue of content. I dealt also with the issue of our originality, our sense of identity.
But don't you think that it's as time goes on and then the world is changing every day, things are updating? Don't you think those things can also be updated?
I agree with you. I have nothing against you trying to play into the global center so that your works are received, appreciated, and perhaps patronized across geographical jurisdictions or even continental jurisdictions. I am saying that in so doing, we must be mindful of who we are. Our sense of identity shouldn't change with the times. I mean, I am a man. I cannot say because the world is changing and then I am no longer a man. I am an African. I am black. I'm proudly so. So can we take as much as we can those noble, those worthy, welcoming aspects of civilization, modernization, sophistication, if you like. You understand? And add up to what we have and who we are, and discard all those things that redefine us negatively. The African woman he has a lot of decency. The African woman is not it's not really, because of the way God has created the African woman, by the way. The African woman is naturally buxomy, if you know what I mean. We have very curvy, very sexual and sensual, what's the word? What's the word? There's this word that they use, for the way and structure that the African woman is, or the man. We are broad-chested, we have huge biceps, and then our blackness shines. The beauty of the black woman is same. So modernity shouldn't make the African woman to bear it all. Make the world hunger for who you are. And that is how, what is her name, that won the first Mnet, is it no, not Mnet, there was this that a girl won many years ago. I can't remember that global competition that threw her into becoming a global model. And one thing that stood out for those who saw her was her broad nose. Her broad nose. And all of those. So I am saying that we should deal with returning to well-researched content. That's number one. We should insist on defining our sense of Africanness, originality, and at the same time competing and perhaps sucking as much as possible from contemporary realities, but discarding those that demean us, that reduces our humanity. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, now as an actor, do you think talent is enough to succeed in the industry?
No. You need talent, no doubt. It's your gifting. Sometimes I say that actors are born, and I'm sure you've heard that not once or twice. Actors are born. But you see, that which is talent is there, rudimentarily. But you need to give it some polish. And that is the essence of going for some level of training, academic, experiential. I think I was born an actor, but I still went ahead to the University of Port Harcourt to study theatre arts. Acting, like art generally, is a latent sensibility. And I'm quoting Oscar Brockett now. One of the biggest global authorities in art and acting, who says that acting is a collaborative art. But beyond that is the fact that it is a latent sensibility. It's inborn. All right? But what do you do with that talent? For that talent to shine with greater lush, it needs some level of what? Of polish. Academic polish. Experiential polish. There are those who didn't study theatre arts who are fantastic actors. Why? Because having done it over a period of time, experientially, they had garnered quite a sizable chunk of experiences. You see, you learn too from experience. Experience is a teacher too, you always hear people say. So talent is key, all right? But you need to do something about it for it to give you, some additional acceleration.
Okay, now what do you think now in movies generally? People do talk about the fact that when you come, before you get into a Nollywood fully, they used to be like, bring this to get this. When it comes to the women, they might say you have to do this or submit it to get this. Now, how do you think that has affected the industry, and how true is that belief or that claim that for a woman, like they say, sex for roles, you have to come sleep with someone, some directors, because before they can give you role, or for men they will say that bring money or things like that. How true is that reality, and how has it affected people?
Again, it goes back to this whole advocacy for a revisitation, if you remember, a rejigging of the entire ecosystem of filmmaking. In the 90s, with the birth of what you call Nollywood today, auditions were like, for final year students in law, like the almighty June of those years, where on campuses, faculty of law, on campuses, they would line up ambulances, because if you failed, also in the medical school at the time, some people pass out on account of the fact that they saw questions and they couldn't figure out what answers to give to these questions, and they knew that failing that course would mean they wouldn't proceed to become either lawyers or medical doctors. And so the consequence oftentimes is that most of these people pass out and they are rushed off the exam hall to hospitals and the like. That is just the way I can liken auditions in the 90s. It came like a final year exam.
Wow.
Because you were prepared, as it were, a couple of days before the audition, just so that you would be on top of your game. Because of course you would be auditioning for a particular role with so many people who are equally good. So it will be a contest of varying interpretations, brilliant interpretations, no doubt, but the director will be looking out for just one of those interpretations to fit into the overall artistic expectation of that particular work. Having said that, it is not so. Or rather, it ceased to be so after a while, when mediocres invaded filmmaking in Nigeria, and I dare say elsewhere, because you have heard of the what is his name, Einstein's scandal in America, in Hollywood, and all of that. So it's not something that is unique to Nigeria. But I would say, from where I am sitting, that those who ought not to have any business with filmmaking invaded the industry and came with all forms of mediocrity, one of which was the jettisoning of rational, objective, dispassionate sense of casting, and subjected the entire structure that ought to throw up the best of the best to play roles, subjecting them to personal, amorous, expectations. And of course, again, same old for a bunch of loose women who had no business being in the industry, who had nothing to offer other than perhaps their beauty. And so they too came not to struggle, not to work hard, not to sweat to get roles, but to offer their bodies. That is, for me, is the definition of prostitution. So they exist. Producers who are amorous, who are irresponsible, who are unprofessional. Like I said, they had no business being in the industry. And of course, majorly, there are female, no doubt, who also had no business being in the industry, except to flaunt their bodies and get roles. And let me tell you the truth, if you go back and see some of these roles, it is so easy for you to know that this person ought not to have played this role. So mediocrity began to thrive and all of those. But I must make the point that it is not something that is uniquely found within Nollywood. It happens in the banking sector. just that we don't get to hear about it. Why? Because we are always in the front of the camera. So we are always the ones that the world sees. If you go to the banking industry, you'll find people like that. In oil and gas, in sundry human inclinations, you'll find that there are people who do not play by the rules. Okay, there are people who get promoted on account of how curvy they are, on account of how they have been able to, what's the word now that they use? They're able to be escorts to their orgas, if you know what I mean. And they land sumptuous positions. So they are not different from the young ladies who sleep around to get roles. They are all, like Zebudiah would say, they are all 10 and 10 pence and all that. So it's there. But that is not to say that we shouldn't do something about it. And that is where I would always call on the guilds. I think we should also tinker with our regulatory framework. It's been a challenge for quite a while. Emeka Rollas, the current president of AGN, is doing so much to see how we can deal with the issue of who accesses the industry and who exits the industry. We should have clearly defined templates for being an actor or an actress. And for all, for other guilds, Association of Movie Producers, Directors Guild of Nigeria, Scriptwriters Guild of Nigeria, to ensure that this attitude of trouncing, sometimes words fail me, trouncing what ought to be done in order to give vent to your amorous sense of dealings, are dealt with.
Do you think that is the reason why you see some female actresses, you see, after acting like 1 or 2 movies, they're already building houses and buying cars and things like that?
Now, that in the whole wide world I cannot answer, because I do know that as rich as the industry is, as the industry of today, I don't think that even if you had a major blockbuster, you could afford to buy an SUV of 150 million naira from one flick. Only God knows how much they were paid. And I ask myself, how much were the investors making to be able to pay that? You see, we have so what's the word now? We have so materialized, filmmaking in this country. And again, it goes to the absence, the degradation of our value system. We now worship, this demon called Mammon. People do so much. You and I are from the southeast of Nigeria. You hear of Okite. You have most musicians these days don't sing anything that drive the consciousness of decent living or that emboldens who you truly are by way of your spirituality, your originality. Almost every lyric now stays within the space of money. Live big. I mean, I see some videos and I'm asking myself, you find a musician that is about 21, 22 years old, spraying dollars, lighting fat cigars, seeing them, even though the vehicles are borrowed, but you create the impression that life is that easy. And then what happens? Because what the eyes see, the mind captures and the brain interprets in such a manner that at age 21 you begin to look at how to drive a big car. You see a woman that's carrying a Gucci bag. They tell you that Gucci bag she bought for $25,000, and a young girl that is just an actress is beginning to dream of carrying the kind of bag that Jennifer Lopez carries around and all that. And so many things now go, under the bridge, all in the name of being movie stars. I'm not going to go beyond that.
Don't you think then you guys, Nollywood, aided this debasement of morals and culture? Because in the time of old, when you guys were used to act them, everything, most of the movies you guys ask is rituals, you make money overnight, you sacrifice, you do this. Don't you think those roles aided to debase the culture that people see now? Because when people act see movie, what they're seeing is flaunting of wealth, money, and all of that, quick money, go to the one ritual, sacrifice, do all of those things to make money. Hasn't that aided the culture we are seeing now?
I respectfully disagree with you, because you must understand the didactic dimension of art. Art is at once therapeutic, it heals, it entertains, but fundamentally for some of us is didactic, it teaches. What we did in the past, and people like us still do today, is to expose the ills in society. Michael Jackson says, I am talking to the man in the mirror. I am asking him to change his ways. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself in the mirror and make a change. That is what the advocacy is all about. That there are people who want to cut corners to become rich like this. That is what we expose. And it is not criminal to expose that there are people who go through means that are diabolical, unethical, to make money. Is it only rituals? There are people who have made money from prostitution. There are people who have made money from cocaine pushing. Did we also do that? But the fact of the matter is that if you have people who are ritualists to do kite, to do all of those, they are only justifying and laying some level of legitimacy to what we have exposed. But what you do with what we have exposed, what we have revealed, is entirely your business. If I have taken up roles to expose the fact that there are people who do this and this and this and this, Onyeka went on till she died. What would it conspiracy? What would she agree as a person, if you know Onyeka, to go and climb the top, stay at the peak of a refuse dump and pretend to be eating from rubbish? It is because we wanted to expose the injustice and the evil in society. What man could do to a fellow man, man's inhumanity to man. But that doesn't justify that you should probably engage in a drug addiction that makes you to run colos, and you end up living and eating from the refuse dump. So the point I'm trying to make is no. A lot of people have said this, and I keep asking myself, I mean, is it criminal that we expose the evils, in our time? It is not. It is not criminal. But what you do with what we have shown you is entirely your business. That is from the point of view of acting. There is this classicals. If you know anything about American film, Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor simply told the story of American independence. So we have, as actors, and by the way, how many of us know that every actor properly called is a social activist and advocate for public good, for the remaking of the earth? I travel almost now and then, and I receive people who are not Nigerian, Eritreans, Senegalese, Americans, Caucasians, who shake my hands to say that they saw some of our works and the points we put out, artistically speaking, dramatically speaking. So I am saying that it is not in exposing through our works that there are people who are ritual killers and the like for the sake of making it, by going through shortcuts and all of those. Because
if you're acting all those roles and people see it, someone may just love the expression of the wealth that is shown in the movie.
So wouldn't you rather say someone would wrongly interpret the message that is put out? For example, if you go to church and you are sitting in the pew and the man preaching from the pulpit says that there are people who will take all manner of substances, and in the midst of those substances, their minds are knocked off and they are raped. Is the pastor telling you to go and give somebody substances that will knock off her head so you could rape the person? What the pastor is simply telling you is that these evils exist in our world. But where I have my problem is that in the realm of entertainment, my dear brother, what the musicians are doing, they are not exposing the ills in society. They are celebrating the ills in society. These are two different things. Therefore, plays the role of a drug baron, because the message is to let the world out there know that such characters exist, right? But if you follow the storyline to the end, you find that good triumphs over what? Evil at the end of the story. What does that tell you? That if you go this way, you are likely going to end this way. Because you find that the man who was a drug baron, a ritual killer, whatever, eventually ends up probably in jail or dies or something, which means that, no, don't go this route. This route will lead you to untimely death. But you see, you watch some of our entertainment musicians and all of those. They are telling you, my brother, go and make money. That money rules the world. That if you don't have money, you are not even existing. Look at your mate. You find them praising to high heavens a 24-year-old who is already living in a house that is worth 5 billion, who comes to a public event and sprays 10 million Nigerian naira in this economy. And you are giving him all the praise, celebrating him, giving him all adulations, and creating the impression in impressionable minds that this is the way to go. So you tell me how you're going to fight Yahoo and Yahoo Plus. And Yahoo Plus is destroying children of 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. I don't know if you saw the video that went viral not too long ago of about 4 or 5 boys that were arrested in Abuja who had gone to commit crime, I think armed robbery or something. And they started asking them questions. And this one said he took Kolos and Wolo, that is India hemp, and Loud. They were between the ages of 13 and 16. So, what would drive a 13 to 16-year-old into those things? Kolos, Loud, and Indian hemp. Oh, I don't know I know what Indian hemp looks like. I've never taken it. But these other two, I don't know. At age 13, believe me, in my generation, some people were still peeing in the room. Some people were still swimming in the rain. But at 13, somebody had begun to take these very psychotropic substances in order to be able to do what? To be high, to hit, and make millions.
You know why I'm saying this? Because instead of acting ritualists and showing people that they can do blood money to make money, even though they are seeing the end, some people don't care about the end.
I agree with you. Yes.
Why not then go ahead to shoot the roles that shows ethical work, how people achieve something ethically and make money ethically, rather than showing how people can make money through ritual?
That is not the work of art. The work of art is to expose evil.
Some people are buying into the evil.
No, listen to me. My work as a trained actor, and I always use the word a career actor, because I hold a degree in theater arts. I studied it the way you study your medicine or engineering. I didn't chance into it. So when I speak professionally, like a lawyer would speak professionally. My responsibility, just like the lawyer would go to court to advance serious arguments in order to do what? To ensure that injustice does not thrive. That is the way I advance my art. To expose those things that are existing in the dark and killing people. And then telling the world that these things exist. Thank God for social media. But for social media, would you have known that so many men sleep with their daughters? Would you have known that there are men who sleep with men? Sodomy. But for social media, we wouldn't have known that so many things. Social media now makes us to see the level of fakery within the so-called body of Christ. When some who claim to be pastors are ritualists. I mean, the video that went viral not too long ago had a man behind the curtain of his so-called altar was more like a cemetery of people that he had killed, harvested their organs and all of those. And so many terrible things. But for social media, probably wouldn't have known that these things had always existed though. They had always been there. It is our responsibility to expose them.
Now, do you think because now they are doing some exposition now, people talk about the fact that the ritually thing doesn't really exist. Like you mentioned in the South, it's like the old kids they are talking about. Those guys are just murderers. I do not think that there is a path that somebody can be able to make money by killing people through ritual.
Because our works have exposed, you understand, the lie that was put upon these things.
But it looks like as though people can actually make money through killing people.
No, that is.
But it doesn't exist.
That is why I said to you that at the end of such stories, at the end of such movies, if you like,
yes.
By the time you watch these movies to the end, you will see that good thrives or triumphs over what
within the
evil.
same movie.
No,
don't make money with the killing people.
No. See,
but it doesn't exist.
My brother, some exist. What I will not do is to share certain personal engagements of people who had come to me in the past to say they did this, that, and that, and that. Some have.
So you think actually exist? From
my professional experience and personal engagements with people, they exist. They do. For every 10, 6 exist. Then what has happened is that fakery now was introduced. Like everything in Nigeria. I mean, if this handset was very powerful and popular, sooner than later you would find the counterfeit of it. So there are people who now hide under the toga of ritual killings and all of those, whatever, to now do things without killing, you understand, to create the impression of some form of ritual, and you understand, to still hoodwink people, to defraud people. There are people also who claim to be native doctors, for example, and all of those, who are living fantastically wide and large, but they are not native doctors. What are they? They are organ harvesters. This is the reality. You see, acting, my brother, is a representation of life, but not life itself. As an actor, I am called to expose the ills in society with a view to putting out there those things that ought not to do what? To be the ideal. Then my job is done. Of course, that is why you have law enforcement. You have the church to preach from the pulpit. You have people who are into advocacy. We have psychologists. We have people in the medical field. We have so many groups and foundations and NGOs that now begin to, say to you, hey, all those things that Charles Okafor, Richard Mofedamijo, St. Toby, God bless his soul and the like, have exposed in their works, you understand, should not be the ideal. Stay away from drugs. Why is it that if you want to put out an advocacy, a pictorial advocacy, a dramatic advocacy, what you call a skit dramatization against smoking, against this, why do you put out a man that pretends to have coronary thrombosis and all of those, coughing and all of those? Is it that you want to celebrate coronary thrombosis or any sickness of the thought? No, it is just for the people to see what smoking could do to you.
Another thing I'm saying that I'm thinking around this is that why I'm saying whether does it truly exist, because some of those roles doesn't really just show that you go out there and capture the person, maybe and murder the person. Some of those roles shows that you can be at a coven and then try to call someone and murder somebody from inside coven. Law enforcement doesn't sit down. Law enforcement doesn't believe that someone can sit down somewhere and then call in someone's name and kill somebody. Does that kind of belief actually exist? Because that's corrupted the minds of many people.
See, the truth is, it's not just the Southeast, it's everywhere.
Yes.
There are aspects of our culture that I call black culture that we should do away with. You understand? The whole concept of witchcraft and all forms of what the Christian would call demonology and all of those. These things existed. There were people who had extraterrestrial powers for evil, right? Don't ask me, I may not know one or two. But from the point of view of my studies, there is what we call belief system in philosophy. What do you believe? What works for you? There are equally people who, on account of these things that we have exposed, have become better people in society, have been educated, and their minds have been rewired to go, like the Americans will stay, on the straight and narrow. And today, they are happier and better for it. So it's a two-way street thing, my brother. There are people, and they are in the majority, who see the put out in terms of advocacy from our works. You understand? As we expose ritual killings and the like and the like and the like. And they learn a lot from them. You understand? And better their ways. I agree with you that there are a few, and quite a few, who say these things, and rather than take the positive from it, go and begin to run with the negative.
Exactly.
But there is nothing we can do. It is the reality of life. I mean, the Bible says in Deuteronomy chapter 28, I put before you, you understand, life and death. It says, choose life that thou mayest what live. Life itself is a reality of choice. You can walk out of this place and decide, you know what, I don't want to do podcasting anymore. I want to go and sit down and do Yahoo. I mean, you wouldn't blame it on the actor that exposes Yahoo. You understand? But if our musicians, again, I go back to entertainment, and I have nothing against them. I mean, they are also hustling and making a living. But they too should begin to reconsider what they are putting out by way of advocacy. Are they bringing value to human existence? What are they doing to save the future of these young ones? They too have children. Would they rather their children grew to see, life from the prism of dollars, money, naked women playing around them? Can that ever be all there is to life? So at some point, and it happened to me, by the way, at some point in my life a couple of decades back, I just said to myself, Charles, you've done a lot of entertainment acting. All right? To the glory of God, and I say it with deep sense of humility, I'm no longer looking for fame. I have all the fame that I would need in 3 lifetimes. But how much have I brought? What value have I brought to making this world we live in a better place? By my actions, no longer acting. You see, I tell my colleagues when we gather, if I, Charles Okafor, play the role of a thief in a movie, I'm not a thief. What have I just done? I have represented a reality of life, which is stealing. That is what I did, a representation. But that's not who I am. But if, when I get out of the character of playing the role of a thief, I see somebody's pen, and I look to the left and right, and I fap it, like we say, I'm no longer acting. I'm a thief. Do you understand? So, what value are you bringing to humanity, especially in these times? I mean, this world has gone crazy. Yeah. We live in times that benumb any form of rational thinking. Just name the evil, it exists in this world.
Now, what do you think are the top 5 traits that makes one a
great
actor? Top 5 traits that makes one a great actor.
The first would be the fact that you were born into it, latent sensibility.
Okay.
The second would be your capacity to develop that which is in you. Okay? But let me go back to number 1 quickly again to say that you need to have a very deep sense of clarity that you are gifted in this direction. I have seen a lot of people, and a lot come to me to say, hey, I'd like to be like Genevieve Naji. I want to be like Mona Lisa Chinda. I'd like to be like Gloria Nozie Young. And and then that is all there is to their desiring to be actors. And I'm using the word actors generically for male and female. Nothing more. But are you intrinsically, latently gifted in that direction? It's another thing. I mean, let me juxtapose it with what I've seen amongst a few people. I know of somebody who is highly placed in one of the big banks. A lady, all right, who is a banker. But each time she sat at meetings, management meetings and a few other very strategic, bank engagements and all of those. She suddenly, according to what she told me, she suddenly just realized that she got lost. By the time she came back to her senses, her notes, her loose sheets for taking down points had become what? Had become beautiful portraits of flowers and things that she had drawn. When she drew those things, she didn't know. And I said to her, Madam, maybe you are in the wrong industry. There are people that are creatively endowed, but they are in some other areas. And then she opened up and told me that she read banking because her father wanted her to read banking. That all her life she had wanted to be a visual artist. As I speak to you today, she owns one of the biggest interior decorating companies somewhere, in this city.
Wow. So one, you have to be born with it.
Born with it. No.
You
You need to be born with it. Then have a clarity about what God has given you. What is given to you has not given to me. You can't want to be a Charles Okafor, probably because you want fame. I can't want to be like you in order for me to gross all the money in the world. Are you born into it? That's number one. Now, when you have that clarity, that certainty, then of course, how do I develop this which is in the inside of me? Right?
Okay.
Remember, I keep going back. David was made king, but Saul was still alive. But he didn't ascend the throne immediately. It took him under 17 years, grooming, development, before he came up. He came to the throne. So my take would be, identify that you have this gift. Then be sure that you have it. Then develop it. Are you listening? Then when you have developed it, you understand, be committed to that which is in your hand. Nobody grows in anything in life to become successful through a flight by night arrangement. If you gain it by flight by night, then either you are a thief, or you are a mediocre, or you are a fraudster. Anything you cannot legitimately explain as your accomplishment, anything that you cannot tell boldly that you did without turning to the left or right, you understand, you gained or you got from means that are unsavory, like we say. So when you have done that, you must be committed to it and be sure to be conscientious. You don't get into the creative industry today, I hope to be the biggest name tomorrow. So, are you called to the industry? And there are so many people in the industry that are not called to the industry, unfortunately. Again, we want to excuse the fact that in a certain country called Nigeria, with the level of unemployment, a lot of people just want to chance anything, to get by. It's painful, no doubt, but that does not help you to actualize your vision and your God-given talent. Your talent may not be in being an actor. It could be as a director, being behind the camera. And I tell our female folks oftentimes, I want to see award-winning directors of photography. And thank God today we have brilliant cinematographers that are female, directors that are female, producers that are female.
Okay, that is number 3, commitment.
No, that's number 4.
Okay, number
And
4.
then finally, if you ask me, submitting totally to the will of God, to say, Lord, if you have created me in this direction, prosper me in it. And God cannot give you anything that will destroy you. And so sometimes when I hear people give testimonies and I sold 10 naira and the Lord gave me 10 million, and I'm like, wow, how? If you have not seen 50,000 naira, then God will give you 500 million naira. He can't give you what will destroy you. God builds you. That is my interpretation of Matthew chapter 5, where he teaches us how to pray. Is it chapter 5 or chapter 6? When it says, when you pray, say this: Our Father in heaven, blah, blah, blah. Give us today our daily bread.
Now, coming to just to add to this, your last part of it, now that you mentioned about God prospering you. Now, what do you have to say about royalties? Because you tend to see that some actors, they can be very famous, act lots of movies, and you see they end up maybe they're not having anything, or they end up, or you see that when they are sick, they come to the public, start requesting for help, soliciting for help. What happened? You see, these are famous, great actors. What happened in that regard?
Systemic dysfunction. It is as a result of the fact that we do not have systems that protect our intellectual property capacities. It dovetails to the absence of leadership. I'm talking about leadership from the political standpoint now. If people have given of their time to work hard and all of those, it is the responsibility of leadership to protect and assure their future and whatever ought to come to them by way of royalty. But not so in this part of the world. We have not developed up to that point. But let's just hope and pray that sooner than later, the issue of royalty, but it's been there for quite a while, and nothing is coming out of it. I mean, again, the absence of a well-structured industry where there is consideration for what ought to be the right of operators in the industry is taking cognizance of. It is painful, it's crying sad that a lot of us, a lot of our colleagues have died. Not because nature or life ended for them naturally,
Exactly.
but because they couldn't afford.
Exactly.
There is no health scheme. There is no royalty. There is no national provision for those who have served within defined time frames to say that this level of practitioners, not just actors, could be musicians, could be painters, dancers, and all, should receive this level of medical intervention from the coffers of government. So you see, it is not just an industry thing. It speaks to the absence of the kind of people-centered leadership that ought to galvanize, the betting of this level of consideration.
So it is government that could do that, not the producers or directors or things like that.
How much do these producers have? Have you bothered to ask yourself what has happened with the intellectual property infringement, what you call piracy, to most of the works of people in the industry, not just in film, even books, publications, and all of those? The world works are faked, undermined, reproduced without express permission from the owners, thereby leading to the real owners losing in quantum. So they invest so much and they get so little. And this has psychological implications upon themselves, medical implications upon their lives. So you see, the absence of leadership is a challenge to growth, development, prosperity in the creative world. And you know that Nollywood is just a compartment of the larger creative compartment.
Now, what do you think should happen then for situations like this to be resolved finally? What do you think should happen?
Square pegs in square holes. Who oversees or superintends the ministry, agencies, and departments or parastatals that ought to be supervising the creative industry. And I'm speaking about the creative industry because that is my forte. And I'm not talking about political appointments. I'm not talking about political consideration. I'm talking about people who are genuinely well versed in the challenges in the industry and come sincerely to the table to see how much they could put together to give us a future.
Now, in rounding off now, what do you think happened with the Nollywood movies? What do you think about Nollywood? I mean, the Nollywood movies and then the YouTube movies. Do you think it has disrupted the Nollywood movies, or it's a good idea for
it? It is a fantastic idea. Again, how is it said? When the animal runs loosely in the forest, the hunter shoots loosely. You have an all-commerce industry. The regulatory framework is not clearly defined. Then you have over 26% of your youths unemployed. You have spiraling inflation. You have mass emigration from one point to the other. Mass migration. You have politics being transformed into a lucrative industry where all sorts, brigands, thugs, touts, suddenly become multimillionaires, driving the streets in a streak of convoy cars.
How do you mean?
Where the graduates back into the mother's kitchen for the mother to continue to feed him or her. So you find that it's an entire madhouse that can only give room and rise to every man to himself and God for us all.
So you're saying
so you find that hunger, the quest to survive, because the first principle of life itself is self-preservation. To survive by any means necessary. Challenges you to do all sorts. It is even one of the reasons why we have increase in Yahoo. Everybody is just trying to eke out a living because there is no system that has taken care of the fact that if you've gone to school, you ought to be well positioned or accommodated or engaged within the area of your strength. So YouTube is a welcome development for me. There are people who are living fat on skits. There are people who are still in conventional filmmaking. There are those who have graduated to doing cinemas. I mean, you have Showmax, you have Roku and the likes. People are busy, expressing and ventilating talent. One, talent, and number two, finding every means necessary for survival.
Now, you have been absent a bit on the screen for a while now. What is Charles Okafor doing currently?
I have not been. I have been selective.
Okay.
I hear people say I've been absent for a while. Maybe because I have not been as visible as I used to be. But again, in one of my answers, I did tell you that at some point in my career, I paused to ask myself what value I was bringing to humanity beyond entertainment, which had brought me so much fame. And that is why I began to do more of advocacy. And of course, I was commissioned through the International Organization for Migration to execute, a global television miniseries titled "What's on Your Mind," which we filmed across jurisdictions. It was funded by the Switzerland government, and we filmed about 8 years ago in Nigeria and elsewhere, even filmed in Switzerland. And then, of course, there was a European Union funded project that took us, overseen by ECOWAS, that took us to 4 countries to shoot, a motion picture. The one funded by the European government had to do with a campaign against all forms of irregular migration. You would observe over time, that most West Africans, had begun to die in their droves in their bid to go to Europe through, the Sahara Desert, through Kano to Niamey and all of those to Libya. And of course, each trip was fraught with a lot of fatalities. Not to talk about those who even got sunk in the Mediterranean and they made to cross the Atlantic Ocean. So this donor-funded project was to campaign against all forms of irregular migration. Then of the one we did again about 5 years ago had to do with a campaign, to encourage what we call sub-regional integration from a socio-economic perspective. The idea was to say that rather than go and die in your bid to go to Europe, why not stay within your sub-region, West Africa, and harness the glut of opportunities that exist here. It was a beautiful experience filming across about 4 citizen communities of West Africa. So we've been doing a lot of advocacy projects. And of course, when the story is good, again, talking about content, and we're able to identify that we belong squarely in terms of characterization. Of course, I did Adamo Daddy. We have done quite some other projects between the Coast Bloodline and many others. So I may not be as visible, because I do a lot of advocacy projects. I'm here today, I'm not in this country tomorrow. But in all of these, we are here, and I will beat you to the question. I am not a pastor. Yes, I am a Christian. And people said, I have had people say that Charles Okafor has quit acting. He has become a pastor. That is not true. That is not true. I am not a pastor by any stretch of the word. Am I a Christian? By all means, proudly so. But am I a pastor? No. If you have a good script, please call me and let us discuss. And if the money is good, we'll do it.
Because people would like to see you on more of cinema movies and all of
Oh, yeah, we do. And by the way, I think in December, Nigeria will be hit with the return of Isakaba, produced and directed by the governor himself, Lancelot Odua Emaswe.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, it parades my humble self, Sam Dede, Chidebokeme, Iyabo Joe, and many others. Nosa. I mean, it's a must watch. I think it's a way to do Christmas.
Wow.
It's a way to do Christmas, to celebrate Christmas. And it's a huge cinema project. Yeah.
Wow. Finally, in 2 minutes, what can you say to our Nigerian youths out there that can aid them in this economy currently?
This is not the best time to be a youth. I'm sorry to say that. The Nigerian youth is harassed, haranged, pressured on every side. Is it Okite? Is it Kolos? Is it Loud? Is it Indian Hemp? Is it Yahoo? This is not the best time to be a youth. But I can say this. If you are able to resist the allure of quick money, the allure of negative peer influence, if you are able to submit to parental mentoring, if you can only listen to your parents, and above all, if you can only serve God genuinely as a youth, you will succeed like Timothy succeeded. You know, there was something I read somewhere in the book of 2 Timothy. When Paul saw what became of Timothy, how Timothy had become successful, famous in quotes, in all things that glorified God, he said, Timothy, I am not surprised. Each time I look at you, I see your mother, Eunice, in you. And your mother's mother, Eloise, in you. That speaks volume to the direction I am hoping youths will go. The direction to resist the appurtenances of quick wealth. Study. Resist the pressure. Suffer if you have to suffer. Then you have a future. Then you can raise your head proudly and say, I made this happen. It doesn't matter if you don't have all the money in the world. Your parents will be proud of you. Even you will be proud of yourself. Oftentimes, when you see most of these young people move around, check them out. Sometimes I talk to them. You find that they walk lost. They have all of these things, but when they see any decent young man walk past or decent young lady walk past, you would see in their faces a profound sense of regret. Yes, I have all of this, but what has become of my life? So, take your studies seriously, youth. Resist the pressure of everything and anything negative. Don't go into drug addiction and the intake of psychotropic substances. Obey your parents. Take your studies very hard. Fear God. Love God. And you would be successful, prosperous. Whatever God has imputed in you, you would be. In Jesus' name.
Amen. I just Charles Okafor. Thank you very much. Is there something maybe I didn't ask that you may like to share or talk about?
Well, to just say that we should keep believing in Nigeria. We don't have any other country. Like you, I'm not finding it funny. It is not easy. I criticize too myself, I must confess. I'm not one to pretend that I'm happy with all that is going on. But I know that except the seed falls to the ground and dies, it shall not sprout tomorrow. There is a tomorrow for this country. God couldn't have made a mistake to bring you and I together to be a part of over 250 million people in this country called Nigeria. Nigeria shall be great again. Let's keep trusting, let's keep loving, let's keep being patriots. Let us pray for our leaders. Those are our obligation from God. And leaders, help us now. What's happened now? Don't gonna help us. Don't gonna help us. You know, easy. Gary is costly. We need to get light. I mean, it takes just one man, a leader, to say, you know what? Our people don't suffer enough. Let's make we help them small. Thank you.
And that is Charles Okafor once again. Thank you so much, sir, for this powerful.
I hope I made sense.
Thank you so much. A lot. You have been absent on social media. What is the problem? What has been happening?
Oh well, maybe because I have elected to live that way. I'm a very private person. I'm more given to thoughts and research. I write a lot of papers. I deliver papers, not just in Nigeria but elsewhere. I get invitation to look at topical issues. So I always find myself buried in one research work or the other, or being on location when the content, the story is good. And so I'm not a party person.
But no, that can aid your publicity out there.
I know, but you see, I know, but you see, those who know you. You cannot be everywhere at the same time.
Word of social media now is word of money.
I agree with you. You see, that is the challenge of money.
No, but we need it.
We do. And that is why I've offered you this invitation to speak to. Your podcast is arguably one of the most thriving everywhere. I mean, it goes very wide, and I want to subscribe and tell people to share, like and share this. Not even because Charles Okafor has been interviewed, but previous contents on this podcast are mind-blowing, very ingenious, very scholastic, and very creative. So, I mean, through people like you, we may gain some visibility, which may translate to legitimate money. I must emphasize the word legitimate. And it's not about money in all things. If you're not hungry and you are contented, the Bible says a little with contentment is great gain.
But you know, if you're on Instagram, I can tag you on all these things. So people can bring more followers to you, more eyeballs, more engagement, and people can call you on various other things.
More people looking into your life and then telling the lies that they ought not to tell, because it has also destroyed. You see, maybe because I'm a very strong family man. I love family. My wife and my children are the center of my world. And so one has to be careful. Yeah, balance them out. Make the money. I don't need fame anymore. But please, love your family and keep your family intact. Once you become too visible and ubiquitous, you will be attracting the good, the bad, and the terrible.
It's part of life. People like KOK are visible. People like KOK are visible.
Those are their choices. I can't be KOK. I don't even want to be KOK. I don't want to be every other person. I don't even want them to be like me.
Or Kenneth.
Or Kenneth in neighbor. I don't want to Kenneth Okoko, my beloved, brilliant brother. I'm just saying that this is how I want to live my life, and I'm healthy. I do what we call lifestyle audit. When you stay away from clubbing, over partying, your psychomotor is intact. You don't do all of these big expensive drinks. Drink plenty of water, jog, stay fresh and healthy, and eat good food. Enjoy the comradeship of family. Laugh with your wife and your children, and be happy with even the 10 naira you have when it is blessed from God. You like money a lot. And by the way, you know he looks like Falls. Falls, if you are watching, this guy is your twin brother. Ask cerebral father Sam whether he had I'm joking, please, before he comes and throws me into prison. Thank you so much.
So guys, that is Charles Okafor. This powerful and mind-blowing episode of Selahmeditate. I hope and I believe you have been highly impacted. I remain your very host, Benzik. And it's the first time of coming to the channel. Like this video, share it, subscribe to this channel. I'll do my best to bring you high calibers of individuals so they can transform you, impact your life, transform your mindset, and help in all areas that's going to challenge your life. That is the core of this podcast, and I will do my best to ensure we keep to that. I don't know if you may like to people can reach out to you more, or learn to follow your things like that. You like to share things like that.
No, I mean, now that you have even talked about Instagram, maybe you can arrange that for your program for me. That's it.
Okay, maybe people can send you email in case you want to
contact my email. I'll send it to you. You want me to give them CIOaliveafrica@yahoo.co.uk. CIO Alive Africa, one word, @yahoo.co.uk.
Okay. Instagram?
Yes. I'm not on Instagram until you have arranged me.
All right, so that's it. So guys, thank you for this powerful time. I thank my guest once again, Charles Okafor, for this inspiring episode.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a blessing. Thank you.